Hey everyone, welcome back. So one of the things you guys will see is how my Instagram post correlates with my YouTube video. So we are currently teaching Harper about good touches and bad touches. And it brought me back to two things. Ignore. And let me share a little bit of backstory, right? So you can understand. So I think I was around 5 or 6 when I was told about good and bad touch. And it all came from the fact that I saw something and didn't understand it. So I went to the lady that was raising me at the time and asked questions. And that's when she told me about good and bad touches in inappropriate places, and how much I had a blood relative that touched girls in inappropriate places, and I had to avoid him at all costs. And remind you, he was living across the street from where I was living, in the same place where my brothers lived. And I remember asking permission, because I always had to ask permission to go to my neighbors, whether friends, whoever. I always had to ask permission, because with the lady raising me, she needed to know where I was at all times. And so I remember asking permissions to go play with my brothers. But I have one particular brother that would watch me like an hawk. But at the time, as a child, I really didn't pay much attention to it. But as I got older and I'm talking to my brother and saying, listen, growing up, I remember this, I remember that. And he was like, yeah, I knew of the blood relative that touches kids in inappropriate places. And his way of protecting me was to always keep his eyes on me, just to make sure I was safe. And I was like, oh, it makes sense. And so that also brought me back to a moment I had with my biological mom. We're in therapy and we're just talking about, all these stuff. And I asked her about what I saw growing up and what the lady told me, well, the lady that raised me. So what the lady told me, which is the lady that raised me, about our blood relative. And I said, it's interesting that nobody, you never mentioned it to me. Like, no one mentioned it at all. It was like a hush-hush thing. And so I asked, what was that about? Or did you even know that? And she said, you know what? Growing up, he did it to me. And I was like, wait, what? And he did it to other family members. I was like, okay, Mom, I don't understand, because if this person is hurting kids, why is he not arrested or being the outcast? Like, for your actions, right? For you touching kids in inappropriate places, you need to be held accountable. And she explained to me that what she was taught was to protect the family's name. I said, what? She was like, yeah, her mom talked about not embarrassing the family. I was like, you're not embarrassing the family, you are holding the person that is doing the damage accountable. Like, you're robbing kids of their innocence. Like, that's not okay. And in therapy, I had to listen, right? And listen to understand where she was coming from before I responded. And she was just explaining that's how she was raised, not saying it was the best thing, but it is how she was raised. And she was happy when I started living with the lady that raised me, because then I was, somewhat out of harm's way. And so my response to her was that I hear what you're saying, but I don't understand, because if he is hurting kids, then he should be locked away. I don't care if it's a family or a friend or whoever it is, he needs to be locked away. And it is so sad that he creates this harm, and then it is being taught that we should protect him but not the victims. I was like, Mom, I don't understand. And for her, she's like, yeah, and this is why you will have to raise your kids differently whenever you have kids. Another incident was, I went to my high school reunion, and where I was staying was at a hotel, and the event was downstairs. And so my aunt, which technically she's an older cousin, she was in charge of Harper. She was the reason why I brought Harper. She wanted Harper. I was like, okay, I will bring her. And so while I was downstairs, I had told her, you could get Harper dressed and you could come, you could bring her downstairs to socialize a little bit and all of that. And so I remember walking out the event room, seeing Harper, and I also noticed a lady that was sitting next to them. And so I walked over to, to give Harper hugs and kisses, and the lady was like, oh, your daughter is too friendly. And I was like, excuse me? She's like, yeah, your daughter is too friendly. I said, you don't know me, you don't know my daughter, and this is not the place. Reminded you, I wanted to say more, but there was too many moving factors. I was at an event, I was part of the planning committee. I just didn't have the time to entertain what she was saying at that moment. And so I just was like, okay, you know what? I don't know who you are. I don't got no time and energy for you. And so I remember, being at my reunion and then thinking, oh, I wonder if Harper is still here with my aunt. And so I walked up, but I didn't see them. Didn't think anything of it. The next morning now, I said to my aunt, where did you go? I came up looking for you guys, like, you guys left early. And she said, I had to leave because what the lady was saying made me uncomfortable. And I said, what do you mean? What did she say? And she said, oh, it's so it is kids like my daughter, right, gets touched. That's not the word that she used, but that's what I am going to use. And I said, what does she mean? People, babies or kids like my daughter, like what? And so it is so crazy how small the world can be, right? Because it turned out this lady that made that remark was one of our reunion vendors, and I had her contact. And so I made it my point of duty to give her a call. And I said to her, yesterday when I came out to greet my daughter, you made a remark and I told you it was not the time and place. But to my understanding, after I left, you still had a lot to say. And I said, how dare you is going to talk about it is kids like my daughter that gets touched. I said, first of all, you are what is wrong with this world, because you're the ones that protect your father, your uncle, your brother, your mother, your sister, like all these people that are creating hurt to kids. Like, how dare you? Like, who are you to be there and make such a statement? It is nasty and it is distasteful. And I said, God forbid it. My child is in a situation and she needs help, right? And she is afraid to go up to an adult just to ask for help. I was like, I will not raise my child like that. I will not. And not because she is friendly, as you put it, means that gives anyone any permission to violate her or anyone else. And for her, she was trying to explain, and I said, listen, there's nothing that you can say to justify what you said. First of all, it was not the time or place. Second of all, don't speak on someone else's charge you know nothing about. And then third of all, to say something and say something of that manner, I said, how unprofessional can you be? And best believe it, I'm gonna get asked, oh, what about these vendors? What did you think? And I'm gonna give them my honest opinion about you because you were very unprofessional. And I would not recommend you at all. And so just here. Yes, Harper. I need you. You do need me? Yeah. Can you give me 5 minutes, please? No, sorry, I need you. You need me? Okay, I will come out in 5 minutes. No, 5 minutes, Mommy. Why not 5 minutes, Harper? Okay, Harper, can I come out in 2 minutes? No, 2 minutes. Put it on the clock. All right, put it on the timer and then I'll be right out. Yeah, we're also working on teaching her that her voice and her stance be respected, and she should be able to openly express how she is feeling. And if you can hear, she is expressing. But all of that experience I shared, and with where we are right now, just teaching Harper about body safety, it just brings me back to a space whereas growing up, there's so many things that we have learned, and some of those things has been to our benefits, right? And on the other hand, there's so much things that we have learned that we have to unlearn because they're, first of all, not conducive to who I am as a person, as a mom, as a friend, or as a wife. Like it's not conducive at all. It's just all red flags. And the more I think about it is that one of those major things is this thing about bringing shame to the family. First of all, your actions, right? Your action is what has brought shame to yourself. To yourself. And there's no way you could violate me or anyone else and I be okay with that. Like, okay, yes, I'm gonna protect you. So I'll protect you, the violator. What about the victim? What am I saying to the victim? Like, it makes no sense. But I share that to say or to ask, what have you learned growing up that you are now unlearning and then relearning in a different way when it comes to your life? I would love to hear it. All right, have a good one, guys. Bye. So while editing my video, I realized that there's more I wanted to add. And it all boils down to one question. Why do families protect these heartless souls that has violated kids and probably even adults instead of protecting the victims? Why? This whole notion about, protecting the family, saving the family's name. Who gives a damn? First of all, this, whatever their action is, does not reflect the family. However, what reflects the family is when the family decide to come together and not do anything about the fact that a person has violated a kid or an adult in their own family, like in your own family. So you don't stick up for them, you don't fight for them, nothing, but instead embrace these heartless souls. I'll never understand it. I never will. And the more I hear of stories about it, I'm like, what? But yeah, I think this is a topic that should be brought to the forefront, because families ain't talking about it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to be held accountable for the fact that you knew something was happening, or you knew something happened and you did nothing about it. Well, yes, you did something about it. You protect the ones that committed the crime and then shame the victims. Disgusting. See you all in the next one, guys.